Folks, welcome back to the second episode of the Keep Going podcast with Vin Kennedy. Obviously, a little bit of a change of scenery. First one was shot and was recorded on my iPhone in my car. A little bit of a setup here, but first episode kind of just went into a broad about me, about my life, my journey, and thinking through the first episode. Something that really stuck out is how physically transforming myself mentally transformed me. So I would physically push myself to do challenges, do endurance events, workouts, and it started to change who I was mentally because of what I feel are three really important pillars. One being confidence, self-confidence, discipline, just being disciplined with yourself, doing things you say you're going to do, and then self-belief. So from doing those things, you build belief in yourself, and that belief is what really led to it all. But it's just keeping promises that you make with yourself, as small as it could be. Is I'm gonna run a mile today. I'm gonna swim today. I'm gonna try bike riding. Just all different things, and letting that build up. It just letting it carry you and use that momentum to propel you. Really, I scratched the surface with this idea basically a long time ago. In 2014, I want to say, I had a major weight loss transformation, and at the time that's really all it was, but I did feel a mental aspect to it that I just wasn't tapping into. I went from 250 pounds to 178 pounds. I did not do it in a healthy manner. I just didn't know nutrition. I wasn't eating enough. I was eating probably 3 meals a day of salad and grilled chicken, definitely not eating enough carbs. Not that everybody needs carbs. Topic for a different day. And then I was running 5 miles a day, but it took a long time to get there. It all really started one day. It just decided, hey, I'm gonna run a mile. Wasn't able to run that mile, but I started, and that's really all it takes is just starting where you can, and then from there just continuously pushing yourself and getting to that next level. I say that I was six-pack chasing, which I think a lot of people do, and I've done it on more than one occurrence. I did it again when COVID happened, and that kind of propelled all of this. You chase the physical and the mental comes. You chase the physical growth, and what happens to you mentally if you allow it to take over could just change you into completely new person. When I went through my weight loss transformation in 2014, I really did it to lose weight. Hopped out on track, tried to run, didn't really work out. Day after day, I just kept going. And I had a sense of belief and confidence in myself. I wasn't as disciplined as I would have liked to be. I was with food and with working out, but other areas of my life, I didn't let that stuff trickle into other areas of my life, which later on, when COVID came around, it's exactly what I did. And I think COVID was a blessing in disguise, because I was kind of forced to. There was nothing else. I controlled my inputs. A lot of the time you're around negativity, you're around negative people, and you can't fully control your inputs. You wake up in the morning, you grab your phone, somebody texts you bad news, and that's it. Like, that's your input. You just let that in first thing in the morning. What COVID taught me was I could control more of my inputs. I'm around less people. I'm not saying you need to be around less people, but you have more dictation on what goes on in your daily life, because it's in a way more regimented and you're more in a bubble. And I use that in a positive manner. I took in positive podcasts, great books. Like, this is actually the first book they got me reading. If you don't know David Goggins, incredible story. This is an example as well. Discipline, consistency, self-confidence, self-belief, and just completely transforming your life. And we're all capable of this. COVID came, started really managing my inputs. As far as podcasts, I was listening to all different types of doctors, all different types of neuroscientists, which, if you asked me a couple years ago, I wouldn't even know what that means. When you take control of what you're allowing in, you can create what you want out of yourself and out of your life. I had the idea to run a half marathon. It was me, a friend of mine, and my little sister were going to run it. Obviously, COVID came, shut it down. Me and my little sister ran it anyway. Probably 2 weeks prior to when we were supposed to run it, we were following a plan, and I ran it, struggled through it, did not fuel properly. I'm now learning a lot about that. Didn't fuel properly, didn't hydrate properly, and I struggled. Got it done, but struggled. And I remember sitting there, I was like, how in the world do people run full marathons? I just ran a half, and I think I'm like, I felt like my legs were gonna fall off. I was just not good. I was depleted of everything. It was just a really rough go. And, and then even there, it's like, well, I did that. Never have to do that again. And then COVID happened, like real lockdown, everything. And I was sitting there and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to keep running, keep pushing it, see what I could do. That's kind of what led into, from there, months of endurance races and with myself, because obviously everything shut down. There's no real events I could go to challenge myself, push myself, compete obviously with myself, but even like to see where I stack up against other people, it wasn't even an option. I remember I started looking into triathlons, did a sprint triathlon, Olympic triathlon. For those of you who don't know, those are probably the smallest mileage triathlons you could do. Sprint is the smallest, Olympics next. And then you start getting into like the Ironman territories. I did a half Ironman. I started bike riding like crazy. Went and bought what I thought was an expensive trek bike, and just started thinking of things and ways to challenge myself and push myself. And along the way, I started finding books and podcasts. And from there, you find other people that influence you in positive ways that, you want to take little tidbits of and create yourself from. David Goggins being one, Nick Bare being one, Dr. Joe Dispenza. There's so many people started to come to light, Jesse Itzler. So many people started to come in, and I was just taking what I liked from each person. And again, I'm living in this bubble where it's me working out. At the time, I was a police officer, so I'm still going to work. I'm going to work, coming home, and like, this was my fixation. It was, today is Monday, Saturday, I'm riding 100 miles on my bike to wherever that takes me. And I mapped it out on Google Maps, and it was like, from my house, you'll end up all the way down South Jersey past Seaside. If I go there and back, it's 100 miles. No clue that this would take me, I want to say 6 to 8 hours. But these are the kinds of things I was doing. And again, wasn't feeling properly, wasn't resting properly, but I was just the confidence I was gaining from these events was just insane. Sometimes I can't even put it to words, like the things I was doing in a small amount of months. And this isn't to brag. This is just to show people, this is a same person that couldn't even run a lap back in 2014. I was never a runner. I hated running, always. And then today, for example, I haven't been running, did a bodybuilding show. I have a marathon coming up in October. Prep for that starts in June. But today, I was supposed to go out and just run 7 miles. In my head, just said, hey, I'm going to run 7 miles. Got there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to run 10. And like every person who's ever ran 4 miles in, I'm like, 10 seems like a long ways away. And, you're getting closer. I'm about 4 or 5. I'm like, 2 miles to 7 is not that bad. At 6, 1 more mile is not that bad. And it's just to tell yourself, it's like, well, that's, of course, 7 was the initial plan, but you got here and you said 10. So we do 10. Like I don't negotiate my goals anymore. And I think that's something too that just goes back to just keeping promises with yourself. And it just, what you could build from that and what you gain from that is so important. And it might be the smallest thing as far as, running 10 miles instead of 7. But I said I was running 10 when I got to the boardwalk. Therefore, we run 10. Like, you just don't give yourself another option. And in most things, the pain or the tough part of it, it's only going to be temporary. It's only going to last a little bit. But if you don't do what you say you're going to do, you lose accountability in yourself. And that lasts a long time. Been there as well. Even with this transformation, it was physical. It started to be mental with books and things I would take in, and just changing the self-talk was very important as well. A lot of gratitude, a lot of, I don't have to do this, I get to do this. Inky Johnson is huge with that. Another person, if you don't know, incredible story. But it's the talk in your head that controls your outside reality. It's how you speak to yourself, and then even some people, that's how you let others speak to you, is how you hold yourself accountable with those certain things. But yeah, I mean, even, and then going back to, I'm 4 miles into that run. I said I'd get to 10. Now I'm thinking, 7 doesn't sound that bad. And then I'm thinking too, like you think of guys like David Goggins, like, would David Goggins stop? No. And then you think, but you know what? David Goggins, he might do a 100-mile ultra race, but he gets to a point in that race where he doesn't want to keep going. You're out of your mind if you think every ultra runner just wants to finish every race and is doing it with a smile on their face. They're not, but it's a commitment, and it comes down to not negotiating with your goals. But and that's the thing that we forget, is that we put people on a pedestal and forget that they too feel the same thing that we feel when it comes to, pain or discomfort or challenging themselves. It's not easy for anybody. The difference between the ordinary people and the great people is that they don't let that stop them. Completely off topic, but touches on something that I've been saying for a while now, where, everybody says, oh, don't care what people think. And I disagree with that. I think we all care to an extent. I mean, I care what my mom thinks. Like, it's crazy to say don't care what people think. Of course, there's some people that are just going to hate on you for no reason. Sure, don't care what they think. But, I care what my mom thinks. With that, it's not caring. It's not letting any of that stop you. So you could take inventory and even analyze what people are saying about you or what you're doing. If it's something you want to do, you just keep going. You don't let that stop you. And even with changing myself and reinventing myself, really, thanks to COVID, it trickled into other areas. I started networking better without realizing that I was networking. But again, just taking in podcasts and books and learning that these are the important things that we need to be doing. So with that, I would, just reach out to people, just have more organic conversations, make more friends, be more friendly, smile more, hold more doors, wave. On my runs, I make it a point, I smile at everybody that comes by me. I always try and wave at everybody that comes by me. Yeah, just have more conversations, have more. Your network is your net worth. And I kept seeing that, and I just realized I was a police officer at the time, knew I wanted to get into something else, didn't know exactly what it was. So I thought, hey, why not build the best version of myself that I can, and then whatever I go into, I'll succeed at, because I have belief in myself to either attain or acquire the new skill, and then with what I've already created. And that's what happened. So started reading a lot on real estate, knew I wanted to get into investing to some degree. So my cousin has been doing mortgage loans for a long time. So I thought, why not reach out to him, try and get into mortgage loans, learn the back end of mortgage loans, which will help me real estate invest wiser. So that's what I did. And a lot of people that I worked with, a lot of people, even in my own family, gave me a lot of kickback for switching careers, especially you're a police officer. You get a pension at the end of the day, you get benefits. It's a very safe, day-to-day is not, but it's a very safe career overall and financially. I looked at it as policing for myself as settling. You knew at the end of it, you're going to get a pension, you have your benefits, and you're kind of capped. Like many jobs, you're capped at the amount of money you can make, the ways you could go with it or within it. So yeah, I made a career switch, got a lot of kickback from a lot of people, but again, I've built up this confidence and self-belief that it didn't matter. I was taking inventory because, of course, you have a family member come to you like, hey, I don't think this is a good idea, or you need to think about this a little more. You need to take inventory. You need to think about it. I knew I needed different and wasn't afraid to do it. Of course, there was fear there, but I let that fear push me towards new instead of push me away from it. That's important as well. Switching into mortgage loans, been doing it for a year, more financial success than I've ever had in my life. I want to keep building. I wouldn't say stretch myself out, but I want to put myself in other areas. I don't want to limit myself just to one specific source of income either. I'm definitely open to other ideas. I have other possibilities already popping up. Without taking that first step, without going on that first run, without pushing myself, without COVID, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would have never made a career switch. I would have never thought that there's more out there. I would have just kind of stayed in that bubble of comfort, even though obviously today's day, working as a police officer is not a comfortable job. No matter where you work, if you work in a crazy city or if you work in the suburbs, it's regardless. But for me, it was that staying there was comfort, and it's just something I couldn't do. Even relationships. She's gonna laugh at this. My best friend right now is my little sister, and I think it's cool. We've always been a close family. I have a crazy Italian mother who's forced us all to be close. She forced us, and then it worked out anyway. With all of this, like I value people more. I value their time more. I appreciate more things. I'm more grateful. That's a big one. I do a gratitude list. I started on my phone. I do one in a journal too. So I write down like 6 things every morning that I'm grateful for. That's so important to wake up and that be one of the things I do. I have like a whole 30-minute morning routine that I'll definitely get into at another time. But One of the things I do is the gratitude list. Another is I look in the mirror and I'm proud of who I see looking back at me. And there was definitely times in my life where I could not say that. So to be able to say that, it's cool. Gratitude, going back to that, it's, you wake up and you think of things that you're grateful for and happier in your life and truly appreciate, and it just sets you off on the right foot for the day. Like, I can't even think of what I put today, but like sometimes I'll just wake up and think of, vacation spots I went on as a kid, or like Woodlock Pines to be one to just come to the top of my head, or just simple things like that. And it puts the day in perspective. Or I'll just think of simple memories that I have with my family or with friends, and like that's what you wake up with, instead of grabbing your phone and seeing whatever's on the news or whatever's going on in social media or whoever texted you. It's an important way to start your day, and I think just all of it plays a part into who you are, and obviously the type of day you're going to have, type of life you're going to have. But yeah, it physically all started with me taking those first steps when I was 250 pounds at Ramapo College, not happy, depressed, and just looking to make a change. I thought it was only going to be physical. Here we are years later, and it's been way more than that, but it just took those first couple steps. You don't have to run a marathon. You don't need to run an Ironman, half Ironman, do any type of crazy endurance events. David Goggins 4x4x48 challenge. You just have to take that first step. And I think a lot of people make it bigger than it is, and it's really just that simple. To change everything, you just need to start. My physical working out and challenging myself just completely reinvented who I am mentally. Of course, it took years. I've had slip ups. I've had times where I've kind of reverted back. I think now it's been over a year of just absolute consistency, which I'm nothing but proud of. But there's definitely been points where you slip back. But again, it's part of my path, so I don't fixate on it. I appreciate everything along the way, and I just think it's very, very important to know that you're never stuck. You could always pivot. You could always change your situation. Going forward, definitely looking to have guests on, interviews, people come on, just tell their stories, any insight, any book suggestions, and then just any ways we could make this better. This was episode 2 of the Keep Going podcast with Vin Kennedy.